Let me tell you something, man. I've been around this world. I done seen families in every shape, color, size, and situation you can imagine. I've seen the strongest homes held together by nothing but love. And I've seen families fall apart even when they had money, comfort, opportunities, everything you're supposed to have. But I got to be real with you. The more I spent time studying Islam, talking to Muslims, sitting in their homes, observing their lives, the more I realized something nobody really talks about out loud, something that might make a lot of folks uncomfortable. But it's true. Islam builds families. And the modern Western world, man, it tears them apart without even noticing it. And I ain't saying this like somebody pointing fingers. I'm saying it like a man who grew up inside that Western culture. I lived through the divorce rates, the broken homes, the confusion, the loneliness, the pressure to do whatever you want, the idea that commitment is optional and responsibility is old-fashioned. I've seen a world that tells you to follow your feelings in the morning and then tells you to pretend the consequences don't exist by nightfall. But when I started looking at Islam, I saw a whole different picture, a structure, a system, a culture built around protecting the home, the marriage, the kids, the future, everything. And I remember the exact moment it hit me. I was at a Muslim family's house for dinner. The father called everyone to sit around the table. The little kids rushed in. The older kids came in calmly. The mom was setting food. The dad said something in Arabic, Bismillah, and the whole family sat together like it was the most natural thing on earth. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, this is rare back home. And it wasn't even the food or the traditions that shook me. It was the unity, the respect, the tranquility. Everybody knew their place, not because somebody forced them, but because they believed that family wasn't something you have. It was something you protect, something you serve, something bigger than your mood swings and your personal desires. Meanwhile, in the West, we get fed a whole different mindset. Don't let anybody tell you what to do. Independence is everything. Marriage is a jail. Kids ruin your life. You deserve better. Replace, don't repair. And then you wake up at 40 years old wondering why you're lonely. But when you look at Islam, the whole thing is flipped. Marriage, protected. Parenting, revered. Mothers, honored. Fathers, held, responsible. Kids, cherished. Elders, respected. The family isn't just a casual arrangement, it's the backbone of society. Man, I even asked a Muslim brother once, why y'all so serious about marriage? Why is it such a big deal? He smiled and said, because a good home is where faith grows. A broken one is where the soul breaks. And let me tell you, that hit me deep. So in this video, I want to take you through everything I learned, the mindset, the rules, the values, the reasons why Islam holds families together while the modern West, without even realizing it, keeps tearing them apart. And trust me, by the end of this, you're going to see family, marriage, love, responsibility, and community in a way you probably never looked at before. See, the thing you notice real fast when you look at Islam is that they don't treat family like some optional accessory you pick up when you feel like it. In the West, we got this idea that family is supposed to fit around your lifestyle. Your career comes first, your hobbies come first, your personal freedom comes first, and then maybe somewhere down the road, if everything lines up perfectly, you squeeze in a spouse or a kid or two like it's a side project. But in Islam, the whole mindset is flipped on its head. Life is built around family. It's not something you try to maintain on the side. It's the foundation you build everything else on. And let me tell you, that shift changes everything. I remember asking a Muslim guy once, man, why y'all get married so young? Why the rush? He laughed and said, we're not rushing, we're protecting ourselves. And that stuck with me because in the West, the moment you mention marriage, people start thinking you're locking yourself down. They act like commitment is a cage. Don't get married too soon, they say. Live your life first. Have fun. Try everything. Experience the world. And all that experience, let's be honest, is usually just a fancy way of saying mess around, break hearts, get your soul bruised up, waste years, then hope you magically wake up one day ready to commit like nothing happened. Meanwhile, Islam tells you, don't set yourself up to fall. Don't spend your youth building habits that will poison your adulthood. Don't pretend temporary pleasure won't create permanent wounds. And they ain't saying this to be strict or controlling. They're saying it because they know human nature. They know how people work. They know what desire can do. They know what loneliness can push you into. They know what heartbreak does to a person. The West says, just follow your feelings. Islam says, protect your heart from what your feelings will turn into. And that creates a whole different generation. Now, what really blew my mind is the way Islam draws clear lines in relationships. Let me explain what I mean. In the West, nobody knows what's going on anymore. Are we talking? Are we dating? Are we exclusive? Is this serious? Is this casual? Is this situationship? Is this just vibes? Man, people in their 30s still don't know what they are to each other. But Islam is simple. If you're not married, you don't play house. You don't test drive a person like a car. You don't use people emotionally or physically to fill a hole in your soul. You either commit or you leave them alone. And at first I was like, hold on, that sounds kind of strict. But then it hit me that structure is the very thing that protects people from the pain we normalized in the West. The uncertainty, the jealousy, the cheating, the insecurity, the psychological breakdowns, the wasted years. When you commit in Islam, you commit for real. It's not just two people figuring things out. It's two families coming together. It's a community that supports you. It's elders giving advice. It's a whole structure designed to make sure your marriage thrives. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized something that should have been obvious. Families don't break when people take responsibility seriously. Families break when they treat relationships like temporary entertainment. Islam teaches men and women that their relationship isn't a hobby, it's a mission, a trust, a blessing, a test, something sacred. And speaking of men, let me tell you something that shocked me the most. Islam puts serious responsibility on men. Not just provide, but protect, lead, be patient, be gentle, be forgiving, be fair, be emotionally present, never raise a hand, never neglect your family, and never treat your wife like she's beneath you. Now, I know a lot of folks out there love to say, oh, Islam is oppressive to women. But man, when you actually read the teachings, you realize Muslims been giving women rights for over 1,400 years that the West only figured out 50 years ago. A Muslim man can't just walk around doing what he wants. He'll answer to God for how he treated his wife, his parents, his kids, every word, every action. And I saw this with my own eyes. These young Muslim brothers, man, they don't talk to their moms like some folks I've seen do. They don't roll their eyes. They don't talk back. They don't treat their fathers like they outdated furniture. There's respect, real respect, the kind that's rare now. And women, they're treated like the heart of the home. And I don't mean that old school just stay home nonsense. I mean Islam builds a home around the honor of the woman. She's protected, cherished, valued. Her time, her safety, her dignity, it's all guarded. And kids, man, don't even get me started. Kids in Muslim families are raised with purpose, not left to figure life out through YouTube and TikTok, not being told find your own truth, not being left alone to grow up confused and lost. They get identity, they get direction, they get a sense of belonging. They grow up knowing who they are, what their family stands for, what their values are. And you know what's wild? It works. You walk into a Muslim household and see a 1-2-year-old saying, yes, uncle, thank you, please, how can I help? And you're over there wondering how on earth that child is so well-mannered while half the Western world is struggling to get their kids to put down an iPad long enough to say hello. And the craziest part, Islam removes the very things that break Western families. No cheating, no sleeping around. no disrespecting parents, no abandoning your spouse, no neglecting kids, no hiding secret lies, no addictions running wild, no do whatever feels good mentality. It builds walls around the heart, around the home, around the future. And the more time I spent with Muslims, the more I realized that Islam isn't just about believing in God. It's about building a society where the home is a shelter, not a battlefield, where the family is a team, not a burden, where love is nurtured, not performed for social media. And that's when it all clicked. The West teaches independence. Islam teaches interdependence. And one of those creates lonely people. The other creates strong families. Let me tell you what really made me stop and see the whole picture. It wasn't a lecture. It wasn't a book. It wasn't even something a scholar said. It was something simple. I was sitting in a living room with this Muslim family, 3 generations in one place. The grandfather sitting on one side, peaceful as the sunrise. The father sitting next to him, respectful, quiet, attentive. The little kids running around but never crossing certain lines. And the mother moving around the home with ease, like she was the heart pumping life into the whole place. And I'm looking at all this and thinking to myself, man, you don't see this enough anymore? Because what Islam gets right and what the West has forgotten is that a family ain't a bunch of random people living under one roof. A family is a system, a team, a structure. And everybody has a role that actually means something. Nobody's trying to be the entire world by themselves. Nobody's trying to carry life alone. Everybody knows where they fit, and instead of fighting these roles, they embrace them. You see, in the West, we've gone so far into this individualism thing that we created a world full of lonely folks. Everybody trying to stand alone so hard that they fall alone too. We made it almost embarrassing to say you need your family. Embarrassing to say you want a spouse. Embarrassing to say you want to build a home. Like depending on somebody is weakness. Like needing love is some kind of disease. Like commitment ties you down instead of lifting you up. But Islam says the opposite, needing people, doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. Loving people doesn't cage you, it grows you. Committing to someone doesn't shrink your life, it gives your life direction. And that's one of the things that brought so much peace into those Muslim homes I visited. They don't look at each other as competition. They don't try to prove they're better than their spouse. They don't see their kids as burdens or their elders as obstacles. They see family as a blessing, a responsibility, a source of comfort that God himself gifted them. And one of the realest things I've heard a Muslim father say was, when my wife has peace, my home has peace. The man wasn't trying to dominate. He wasn't trying to overpower. He understood leadership as service. And that's something the West could use a whole lot more of, because somewhere along the line, the Western world flipped masculinity into something cold, something detached, something selfish, and flipped femininity into something lonely, stressed, and exhausted. But when I watched Muslim families, there was this balance. The men didn't walk around with that "I don't need anybody" attitude. They weren't out in the streets chasing ego. They were building, providing, protecting, showing love in quiet ways. And the women weren't being stretched thin trying to be everything at the same time. They weren't carrying the weight of the world alone. They were being honored, supported, loved in a way that made them glow. And the kids, man, you can't fake how a kid behaves. Kids show you exactly how healthy a home is. If a kid is confident but respectful, playful but not reckless, able to laugh but also able to apologize, that's not luck. That's the result of a home where parents take their job seriously. I remember this one little Muslim girl, I'll never forget her. She walked up to her father, tugged on his sleeve, whispered something in his ear, and he knelt down to her level, full attention, like she was the most important person in the room. And I'm just watching this thinking, man, this girl is going to grow up knowing she deserves respect. She's going to grow up with confidence. She's going to grow up expecting good treatment, not because the world told her she should, but because her father showed her what real love looks like. And then there was a teenage boy in the same family. tall kid, maybe 15, 16, but he wasn't distant. He wasn't locked in his room for hours. He wasn't rolling his eyes or talking back. He was helpful, proud to serve his grandparents, not embarrassed to stand next to his father. And that right there is something that got lost in the West. The connection between generations, the passing down of wisdom, the sense of belonging, the idea that your family is not a prison, it's your anchor. And don't get me wrong, Muslim families ain't perfect. Nobody is. They got problems like everybody else. But the difference is the structure stops those problems from becoming disasters. The rules keep impulses in check. The culture keeps ego under control. The faith reminds them that they're going to answer for how they treat each other, not just in this world, but in the next. In the West, you can disrespect your parents and walk away. You can cheat on your spouse and walk away. You can neglect your kids and walk away. You can break your family and still get praise for following your heart. There's no accountability, no higher standard, no fear of God in the way we handle our relationships. It's all just feelings, convenience, and personal gratification. But Islam makes you look in the mirror and ask yourself, did I fulfill my responsibilities today? Did I protect my spouse today? Did I honor my parents today? Did I show kindness to my children today? Did I build my home or break it? And that accountability changes you. It humbles you. It makes you think twice before you say something hurtful or selfish. It reminds you that the people in your home aren't just props in your story. They're souls God trusted you with. So when you compare that to the Western world, and I'm speaking as someone who lived it, you start to realize why the divorce rates are sky high, why so many kids grow up without parents, why people can't stay together, why people hop from relationship to relationship like it's shopping, why loneliness is the biggest epidemic nobody talks about. It's because there's no foundation, no anchor, no structure that says slow down, think, love with purpose, commit with responsibility, build something that lasts. Islam has that. And that's why you see families that stand firm even when times are hard. That's why you see kids growing up with identity. That's why you see marriages that last through storms, because they're not held together by temporary emotions. They're held together by values, respect, faith, and responsibility. You know, after everything I learned, everything I saw, everything I felt while sitting with Muslim families and studying their values, I came to a realization that honestly changed the way I look at life. It hit me quietly, not like some loud revelation, but like one of those truths that settles into your chest and just stays there. Islam doesn't just build families because the rules are strict. Islam builds families because the heart of the religion is built around connection. Connection to God, connection to parents, connection to your spouse, connection to your children, connection to the community, connection to the generations before you and the generations after you. It's all one long chain, and every link matters. And when I compared that to what I grew up around in the West, man, the difference was night and day. We live in a world where everything is disposable. Phones, friendships, promises, even marriages. The moment you struggle, the moment you feel discomfort, the moment you face a challenge, the answer is always the same. Leave, start over. You deserve better. And sure, sometimes leaving is necessary. There's real pain out there, real abuse, real trauma. Islam don't tell people to stay in harm. But most relationships don't fall apart because of abuse. They fall apart because people don't know how to stay. See, the Western world preaches freedom, but somewhere along the line, freedom got twisted into selfishness. Do what you want. Live for yourself. Don't compromise. Don't sacrifice. Don't bend. Don't adjust. Don't change. But if you can't bend, how you gonna build a home? If you can't compromise, how you gonna raise kids? If you can't sacrifice, how you gonna make a marriage last? If you can't put someone else first, how you gonna build anything that survives storm? Islam, on the other hand, teaches you from day one, love requires sacrifice. Marriage requires work. Parenting requires patience. And family requires all of you, not just the parts of you that are convenient. I remember watching a Muslim mother gently waking her little boy for school. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't rushing. She wasn't snapping at him. She rubbed his back, kissed his forehead, whispered to him. And that little boy woke up smiling like it was the easiest thing in the world. I thought to myself, man, that child is being raised with softness. He's being raised with love that ain't loud, but it's steady. Then I watched the father. This man came home tired from work. You could see it in his shoulders, the way he put his keys down. But his kids ran to him, and instantly he straightened up. He didn't let his exhaustion spill onto his family. He hugged them, asked them about their day, and it wasn't some show this man really cared. And the way he looked at his wife, you could tell that home was his sanctuary. Not his burden, not his competition, his peace. That right there. Islam teaches that, not through sermons, through culture, through example, through daily practice. And then I thought about the West. I thought about how many men walk into their homes like they walking into a battlefield. How many women are carrying every responsibility alone, crying in silence? How many kids are growing up with screens raising them and parents drifting like strangers? And it breaks your heart. Not because people are bad, but because we lost the blueprint. We lost the structure. We lost the discipline. We lost the roles that kept the family steady. We lost the respect that held things together. We lost faith. And when you lose faith, you lose the glue. Islam didn't lose that blueprint. Islam kept it, protected it, preserved it for over 1,400 years. And once you understand that, everything starts making sense. Why Muslim families stay close, why their marriages survive, why their kids grow up grounded, why they take care of their elders instead of abandoning them, why divorce isn't a casual option, why loyalty isn't negotiable, why love isn't something you fall in and out of, it's something you build every day. And the truth is, the West is craving this. You see it everywhere. People are tired of loneliness, tired of hookups with no love, tired of relationships with no loyalty, tired of homes with no peace, tired of raising kids in chaos, tired of pretending being independent means being happy. People want something real, something deep, something stable, something that lasts, and Islam gives that. Not because the people are perfect, but because the system is. Islam protects the man from destroying his home with his ego. Islam protects the woman from being undervalued and used. Islam protects the children from growing up lost. Islam protects the elders from dying alone. Islam protects the family from the storms of the world. And when I finally stepped back and looked at it all together, I realized the reason Islam builds families while the West destroys them is simple. Islam tells you to build from the inside out. The West tells you to build from the outside in. Islam starts with your heart, your character, your duty, your faith. Then it moves to your family. The West starts with your desires, your freedom, your impulses, then tries to build a family on top of that. One way creates roots. The other way creates cracks. And I'm going to tell you something I learned late in life. You can have all the money in the world, all the success, all the excitement, all the achievements, but if you walk into an empty house, if you sit at a table with no laughter, if you get sick and there's nobody beside your bed, if you grow old with nobody calling you dad, mom, grandpa, grandma, then all that success is just noise. Family is where your soul rests. Family is where your legacy grows. Family is where your smile comes from on the hardest days. Family is where your prayers are answered. And Islam understood that long before the West started breaking down. So if there's one message I took away from all of this, it's this. If you want a happy life, a peaceful home, kids who grow into good people, a heart that sleeps at night, then don't follow the world. Follow the values that protect your home, because a broken society starts with broken families, and a strong society starts with strong families. And Islam builds strong families.